Hello everyone and welcome back to Neverhood Hall of Records with GamesRock. We are now on ARVEN. So let's see what the wall says about ARVEN. ARVEN is a sleek and fast being who created thousands of beings from the first moment he was given a crown. Besides this crown, there is an aerodynamic fin on the back of his head because he is so fast. His style of creating is fast. Get in, create, get out. He does not keep account of the worlds he creates nor the beings he creates who inhabit them. Quattro made ARVEN quiet, serious, lean, and efficient. ARVEN has spoken only once to some of the beings he has created. Quattro wanted to make a being who would fill up the rest of creation with more worlds and planets and beings. ARVEN does not even take the time to create beings who will be creators themselves. ARVEN now has 7 worlds that his beings inhabit. I think that says Nordo is a world consisting of a group of 7 planets, each with a civilization of its own. The inhabitants of each planet have a distinct mythology with the common element of the 7 planets fighting amongst each other. But they never do in reality. This makes the various races of the 7 planets fear each other intensely. There's no real need to do so. The 7 planets are Idsnack, inhabited by the Skull Monkeys. That's a reference to another game featuring this guy here. Skull Monkeys look like monkeys with skulls for heads. Skull Monkeys spend the whole day chasing each other in a nervous, hyperactive way. While Skull Monkeys would love to scare the young of other civilizations, they cannot, for other worlds are not accessible to them. For this reason, transportation research is a primary concern of the smarter Skull Monkeys. Alpha Jaw, the leader of the kingdom of the Skull Monkeys, hoped to have a spaceship of some kind built to fly to planets full of youth to scare. One day, while Alpha Jaw busied himself with detailed plans of a great ramp to launch a great rocket, his assistant Harry Joe climbed down the great fort and decided to rest at the watering hole. Harry Joe drank deeply from the pure waters and looked at himself in the still reflection. He poked his finger in his ovicular foramen and wondered what it would be like to have flesh on his head. I am very ugly, thought Harry Joe. This was an odd thought, since most Skull Monkeys had no concern for appearances. For this reason, I will cast myself into the water and live no more, he said, then jumped. His body made a loud splash, and he felt the cool water touch every part of his body. His hair grew deeply saturated with water until all of the air bubbles wriggled their way up to the surface. Harry Joe exhaled and sank even deeper, far deeper perhaps than any other Skull Monkey had ever gone before. Weightless, he refused to move or struggle. Dark water surrounded him, and he thought about his youth. Harry Joe remembered a particularly unpleasant day many years before when he was just a lad Skull Monkey, receiving his lesson from an elder named Lojaw. Many are the hairs on your backs, said Lojaw, and likewise are the numbers of Skull Monkeys in this world. Harry Joe looked up to Lojaw as a father figure. For weeks, Harry Joe followed every move Lojaw made. If Lojaw went into the forest to forage for nuts and grubs, so went Harry Joe. If Lojaw tended to his garden, so did Harry Joe. One especially warm and beautiful day, Harry Joe was on his way to Lojaw's cave when he saw a great crowd gathered around the entrance. Many Skull Monkeys were howling to show their mournful state. Lojaw's wife was the gloomiest of all. She was built like a brittle fall leaf blown into a corner. Harry Joe pushed his way to the front of the crowd, demanding to see his mentor. Lojaw gently swung by his neck, hung from a braided piece of cloth his 2 children had made. His children were the first to find him in this state. The peculiar thing, like that Harry Joe recalled, was that he had shaved himself completely naked. Arnod, inhabited by the Urs observed other planets and civilizations, hoping one day to apply all that the have learned to their own civilization. This is not likely, however, since they find comfort in research and are terrified of application. Urs are extremely advanced in the arts of the mind. Come on, there we go. Which they use to read other beings' minds. Every other gentleman in the Urs lifeline produces an Omega Ur. Omega Urs have such superior mind control that they can use their minds to form physical doorways between worlds. This has been outlawed by ARVEN, and only because Quattro brought this to his attention. But the Omega Urs were not stopped until after they had moved a few Skull Monkeys and even Urs to other planets. Ba'ak, inhabited by half Skull Monkeys, who are half blue Int. Ints are like beetles, so they're like beetle monkey skulls. Called blue Int Skull Monkeys, these beings look just like white Ints, since the mating of a Skull Monkey with a blue Int causes a loss of pigmentation in the offspring, resulting in a blue Int that appears to be white. There's no other visual effect on the offspring from the Skull Monkeys, or the behavior is more like that of a Skull Monkey than of the community-building blue Ints. Oh, so they're white Ints, but they act like Skull Monkeys. Okay. Girly, inhabited by Proto-Skull Monkeys. These pitiful beings have to bury themselves up to their necks every night in the rich, girly soil to keep from dying of hydration. They can only eat hoe bread, which can only be made by grinding at the largest wicks and adding them to hoe batter before it rises. ARVEN corrected all of these limitations in the final design of Skull Monkeys. Girly has a monthly orbit that floats so close to wicks that the Proto-Skull Monkeys can harvest the plumpest wicks for their hoe bread. Due to the proto-skull monkeys tied to the soil of Gurley every evening, colonizing Woots with proto-skull monkeys is not possible. Wits, inhabited by Woots. Woots are fat, furry, and yellowish in color. Woots reproduce asexually and often, which would create an overcrowding problem if they were not harvested each month by the proto-skull monkeys. Habsburg, inhabited by one and one skull monkey who became best friends. The Ur's name is Riostan, and the skull monkey's name is Mazamos. Their first year in Habsburg was one of confused emotions. Perhaps because of the myth of the 7 planets fighting against each other, Mazamos and Riostan feared each other, but they were lonely and longed for companionship also. Riostan, behaving in perfect fashion, wanted to study Mazamos and all of his habits. He spent a lot of time following the skull monkey's tracks to see where he went, examining his feces to see what he ate, and climbing up trees to see where he lived. They found that helping each other was their only chance at happiness and survival. While they were extremely productive during their first 100 years of friendship, they now just sit in front of their houses swapping grossly exaggerated stories of their first year together. Okay, I guess they live happily ever after. Yanko, inhabited by the followers of Maikea. Maikea was parked right in front of my Honda, and except that Maikea just sunk a lot of money into it because it always was breaking down and getting broke into. It was said to live on Habsburg, though in reality he did not exist at all by any known records. Yankites, beings of Yanko, or Yankites, find pleasure in making intricate artworks for Maikea. Perhaps the greatest works of art known to Quater are made in Yanko. It is for this reason that no one has the heart to tell the Yankites that Maikea does not exist, and neither does mine anymore. The other 6 worlds that ARVEN made. Oh, that's right, because it was one world of 7 planets. Okay. Plasno is an enormous cloud of beings, each too small to be seen by the naked eye. Urs have projected their minds there. Alphatic is the world of their Goths. Each successive generation is born bigger than the previous. As the Regoths of each generation get into their senior years, you hear them making statements like, "These punks think they're so big," or, "When I was your age, we had to stand on a chair to get the fondue pot down from the top kitchen cabinet." The houses of their ancestors are not usable for their newer generations. They can just not fit through the front doors. Alpa Finalpa is a world where the adults are ruled by their children. The children send the parents on time-consuming, frivolous tasks that keep the parents from doing anything but what the children desire. But don't forget, it builds character, right? One might think that a society like this would collapse in anarchy. But to satisfy each whim of their children, the Alparents, or parents, constantly develop new technologies. How? With what time that they don't have? For instance, when a child looking up at the evening sky said, "I want to see what that white dot is up there," and threw a fit, his Alparents worked night. There we go. And day until they invented a telescope. When other children saw it, they all wanted one, so a telescope factory was built. In similar ways, advances are made throughout Alpa Finalpa. Alpa Finalpa families have from 1 to 3 children, rarely more. One child, being childish, may say yes when she is asked if she wants a baby brother or sister. She doesn't have the ability to realize that she will have to share command of the Alparents with her sibling, since the Alparents must be obedient to all their children. That child will not be fooled if she is asked a second time after the birth of her sibling. Later, when the new baby is old enough to answer, the Alparents may be able to ask him while the older sister is not around, and if she hasn't already warned the boy of the danger of the third sibling, if he wants a baby brother. If a third child is born into the family, the older two will rarely ever let the Alparents out of their sight. This prevents the Alparents from getting the chance to ask the youngest if he or she wants a baby sister or brother. As a favor to Haman, ARVEN made the world Flimby for the White Ints. Most of the White Ints were taken by ARVEN so the Blue Ints could live in peace once again. The White Ints depended on the hard-working, resourceful Blue Ints for survival, since White Ints are shiftless, no-good bums. To survive being in the world with no Blue Ints, the smarter White Ints, called Rogling, conned the not-so-smart White Ints, called Habling, into converting into Blue Ints. Okay, there are some tales of the Rogling conning the Habling into being Blue Ints. One night, Pato, tired of wandering in the woods of Flimby, saw the light from a window of a tree-cutter's cottage. Pato didn't have his own cottage because he was too lazy to build one. He thought to go to the cottage to see if the Ints inside would let him stay, so he went to the door and knocked. The tree-cutter's wife opened the door and said, "Shoo! I don't let anyone in while my husband is not in the house. Go away already!" And she slammed the door in his face. Pato was hungry too, and he had smelled the dinner cooking in the cottage while the door was open. He looked around for something to eat and saw a discarded Geflutto burger box, Geflutto, on the roof of the cottage. He hoped there might be a Cafluto burger still in the box, but if not, even licking the Cafluto burger sauce on the bottom of the box would be delicious. This guy really is hungry. After quietly making his way under the roof, Pepto found a hole in it through which he could spy on the wife of the tree cutter. Obviously, the tree cutter was too lazy to fix the hole. When he peeked through the hole, Pepto saw a beautiful table set out with a savory junk roast, clutafish, and wine. The tree cutter's wife and the county tree censor were seated at the table ready to dine. Oh my. Now Pepto heard the tree cutter lumbering home just then, and so did Mrs. Tree Cutter. The tree cutter was as nice a guy as you would want to meet, but his one quirk was that the mere sight of a county tree censor put him into a fit, I can imagine, of rage. And that was why the censor was paying a neighborly visit to the wife, because he knew that the tree cutter was out, and the good woman would therefore fix up the best victuals she had. As Pepto watched through the hole, she threw everything on the table into cupboards and drawers and hid the censor in a trunk she used as a coffee table. "What are you doing on my roof?" the tree cutter asked Pepto. "You better come in and eat dinner with me and stay in the spare room." Okay. Pepto brought the Cafluto burger box in with him, but kept it out of sight. The wife acted very glad to see them both, and set the table and gave them each a big bowl of toro wheat, a great tasteless paste. Pepto's mouth watered thinking about the junk roast, clutafish, and the other delicacies he had seen. He brought his Cafluto burger box up to his ear and opened and closed it a few times. "What have you got there?" asked the tree cutter. "Oh, that's my Cafluto spirit guide," answered Pepto. He says, "Don't eat this toro wheat. Eat the junk roast, clutafish, and other things." He had a Cafluto, I can't say it, Cafluto spirit hide in the cupboards just now. "Super!" exclaimed the tree cutter, who jumped up. Getting a bit longer delay between the transitions here. Alright. And found all the wonderful food which his wife had hidden there, but which he had thought the Cafluto spirit had brought forth. The wife of the tree cutter dared not say a word, but put all the food on the table. Now Pepto put his box up to his ear again and opened and closed it. "What's he saying now?" asked the tree cutter. "He says, don't forget the wine behind you in the drawer." So Pepto and the tree cutter enjoyed the wine also. The tree cutter wanted to see the Cafluto spirit this guide used to provide these wonderful things. He wanted to see the... I guess there's supposed to be a comma there. "Can the guide conjure the Cafluto spirit here for us to see?" asked the tree cutter. "I wouldn't be troubled about looking at him. Now that we finished off that wine, I'm kind of loopy." "But of course," said Pepto, "this guy does whatever I tell it to, don't you?" "Oh, don't you?" Here he nodded at the Cafluto burger box in his hand. "He says yes, but the Cafluto spirit is very ugly. We might puke if we were to look upon it so soon after eating." "Who's afraid of a little barf? What will he look like?" "Well, you'll see. He'll look..." Oh god, this is good. "Just like a county tree censor." "Yeah, that is ugly. I must tell you, I go into fits of rage when I see a county tree censor. But I'll be okay knowing that it's really a Cafluto spirit." So Pepto opened the box and whispered into it, and they put it up to his ear. "Very well," said Pepto. "He's in the trunk you used as a coffee table. We may go look at it now, but don't let it out of the trunk. Help me open the lid," said the lumberjack. And they all went over to the trunk where the wife had hidden the county tree censor. And they opened the lid and peeked in. Then the tree cutter slammed the lid closed. "Wow, he is ugly. Yuck!" After that, they agreed they needed another drink. They opened another drawer and found another bottle of wine. Much later, the tree cutter said, "You must sell me the Cafluto spirit guide in the box. Ask as much as you want. I'll pay anything." "No, I could never do that," said Pepto. "Just imagine what I could use it for." "Oh, I do so want that Cafluto spirit guide so much. Oh, please, 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 oh, please, please, oh, please, 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 oh, please, oh, please, oh, please, 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 oh, please, please, oh, please, please," cried the tree cutter, and he kept on begging. "Well," said Pepto at last, "if you promise that you and your wife will pretend to be blue ints for the next 3 years for me, then I will give you the Cafluto burger box." "It's a deal," said the tree cutter. "But you must take that trunk with that Cafluto spirit that looks like a county tree censor, and away with you. It gives me the creeps." When Pepto left in the morning, he took the trunk on his way. On the other side of the woods was a very deep river. The water rushed by under the bridge he was crossing, and the river thundered in the quiet of the forest. "Whew," said Pepto, "I'm tired. This trunk feels like it's full of my brother's weights. I think I may as well throw it in the river, and if it floats home to me, great. If not, no big deal." He lifted one end of the trunk just a little. "No!" cried the censor from within the trunk. "Let me out first." "Ah!" screamed Pepto, pretending to be frightened. "The Cafluto spirit's still in there. I better throw him in fast so we'll drown." "No, no, no!" exclaimed the censor. "I'll be a blue int for you for 3 years if you let me out." "I could do that," said Pepto, and for the next 3 years he didn't lift a finger. Not much is known about El Bito, except that it is a twin of Flimby, and that it lies on the far side of a huge gulf of yellow plasma. Space currents momentarily blow the yellow plasma away, revealing albedo to the patient observer. Sump is the world consisting of a group of hollow planets that exist within each other, including Outerjun, inhibited by Wix about 1,000,000 times as many as Wix itself. Because there are no proto-skull monkeys to harvest every month, about 1/2 of the population is crushed to death by their collective weight. Abernut, inhabited by Abbers. Abbers suspect that there is a world above their Outerjun floor sky because of the occasional Wix carcass oozing through a crack or hole, but this is an unproved theory to them. Some Abbers have drilled their way through the Meserabernet to find Inner Abernet. These travelers, however, never returned to the surface to tell what they found. This has prevented most Abbers from attempting the journey, but a few hundred have. Abbers fall into 3 castes. The first is the intellectual inquisitive caste called the Frankites. Second is the warring Abbers called the Dazites. Third is the religious caste called the Ees. The Frankites spend their time in pursuit of knowledge about the other worlds of Sump, Outerjun, and Inner Abernet. The Frankites are not respected by either the Dazites or the Ees. The Ees accuse the Frankites of messing with their religious mythologies. The Dazites think the Frankites are a bunch of sissies. The Frankites developed the theory of a world above their Outerjun floor sky because of the occasional Wix carcass oozing down through a crack or hole. The Abbers have no way of reaching the floor sky, but a drop or two of the disgusting rotting flesh of the Wixes from Outerjun sometimes trickles down. The Frankites have developed a science out of the study of stuff that falls from the sky. They have formed theories of what the world above must be like. Theories of a world within theirs are called the Krankel's Inner Abernet Conjecture, after the Frankite named Krankles, who is said to be the first ever to say, "I wonder if there's a world within our world." The Frankites have led expeditions into caves, crevices, and holes in the ground. Most expeditions run into dead ends. The ones that do not have never come back to report what they found. The Ees say this just confirms what they've known all along, that Inner Abernet has a door to the other side. Although a few Frankites say there are no doors, most agree that there may be something like a door somewhere in the universe. You're right, there's only 2 doors left. The Dazites consider the Frankites' research into doors their only useful function in society. The Ees spend their time in pursuit of the knowledge of mythologies. Some Ees follow Father, some Ees follow Quater, some Ees follow Arven. Some follow Father and Quater, some follow Quater and Arven, some follow Father and Arven. Some Ees follow all 3 together, Father, Quater, and Arven. Most Dazites want nothing to do with the door to the other side. They would be very interested, though, if someone found a door to another world that they could conquer. Aberwabi is the notable high priest of the Ees. Kapangdaz, chief warrior of the Dazites, is plotting to assassinate him due to Aberwabi's doctrine of peace, which threatens the Dazite warrior lifestyle. Inner Abernet, which is said to have a door to the other side. All of the Aber cultures have a mythology regarding the door, and a special name that identifies that mythology. Here are some of the more popular mythologies. Lipocarruthers. The door is all around us. This is the mythology of the door amongst a small group of Frankites, called the Ricks. They believe that the door is just a natural consequence of the evolution of all living things. They are fond of going out to the Ubendi forests and hugging the Ubendi trees. Ricks desire to become one with nature. Then they believe they will be able to see the way to the other. Until you become one with nature, they say, you cannot hope to see as nature sees. And according to the Ricks, nature sees all. Winthrop Ballyhoo. We have already gone through the door. This is one of many mythologies found amongst groups within the Ees. This group within the Ees calls itself the Marfies. They believe wholeheartedly that there is a door, but they also believe that all have passed through the door in one instant, sometime in the past. The Marfies say that since we are all on the other side of the door, there is no need to look for it. Shempo Calrissian. Each of us has a door within himself or herself. This is also a mythology from a group within the Ees called the Shempo Calrissianites. It is said that Shempo Calrissian found the door, but did not go through it. Instead, he ground the door to a fine dust and put the dust into the drinking water of Mesoalbernet. Since that day, the first time an Aber takes a drink of water, they are said to have a door to the other side with them. The Shempo Calrissianites hold a water drinking right for their babies. In other words, you are the doorway. Plus 10 to anyone who gets that reference. Alright, Ermbeck. We can find the door only when we have tallied up enough good deeds. Strangely enough, this is not another mythology from amongst the Ees. Instead, it comes from the Frankites. Those are the Frankites that believe this myth are pseudoscientific and perpetuate the myth started hundreds of years ago by Jabberth. Jabberth was insane, but he was able to string together sentences full of scientific and theological sounding ideas. Those who did not know better and did not want to take the time to research, Jabberth claims would say, "Hear, hear." Oh, to research Jabberth's claims, yeah. When it came to their street corner to speak, Jabber, although enrolled in the Frankite schools, attended class only occasionally. He spent most of his time digging for imaginary buried treasure or counterfeiting money. With the latter, he would pay classmates to do his homework for him. It was on what was to be the last of his treasure hunts that Jabber said he found the Scroll of Ernbeck. Is this guy Joseph Smith? Jabber said that the Scroll of Ernbeck explained that if one does enough good deeds, one will be given a pair of extra... This is Joseph Smith. A pair of X-ray glasses with which the door can be found. Jabber said that good followers of Ernbeck who have disappeared are the only proof one needs to believe the authenticity of the scrolls, which, by the way, no one has ever seen. My wife is face palming across the room.
What is that?
The fact that they disappeared, Jabber writes, shows that they got their glasses and went straight to the door. No one has yet been found who can name a missing follower of Ernbeck. Broko Schmoko. Life stinks and then you fall through the door. Maybe. That's so good. This mythology has a small support amongst all three castes of ARVEN. So these are the metalheads. Or the beatniks. Clarksmund. A very good being made the door long ago and only told one good Aber how to find it. Before he found it, though, he told one other good Aber, and thus the knowledge of the door has been passed down through the generations. It is said that somehow knowledge of the door's existence became public, and now anyone can find the door if one goes about it the right way. To do so, one must attach oneself to a good and righteous person to get them through the door when the righteous person goes through. This mythology also has a small support among all three castes of Aber. They are called Clarksmund by other Abers. The key here, it is believed, is to staple yourself to a righteous Aber, so that when he does find the door and go through, you will go with him. This myth states that an Aber named Clabbers, who lived next door to Tugaberg, thought Tugaberg knew how to find the door. Tugaberg was a very nice guy, but Clabbers thought he was the nicest guy there ever was. Clabbers figured that if anybody had a chance of finding the door, it would be Tugaberg. So Clabbers got a very powerful stapler, and with it attached himself to Tugaberg. It is said that when Tugaberg found the door and went through, Clabbers went through too. Therefore, Abers who believe this myth are always looking for someone who is considered righteous, to whom they can staple themselves. If a Clarksman is seen trying to staple himself to another Aber by other Clarksmans, they also will try to attach themselves. Usually friends will help get a Clarksman off the nice Aber. But if an Aber is tackled by several Clarksmen, the Dazite police are summoned to remove them. Dern Tui. Arvin made the door and immediately declared that none shall pass through it upon penalty of death. He only told anyone about it to taunt them with its inaccessibility. Flimperty. The door was brought to Inner Abernen. I'm sure that some of these are references to some things, but I am not getting them all. Alright. The door was brought to Inner Abernen by Merlopax the Kleptomaniac. There are many legends of Merlopax. He is a folk hero among the lazy Abers who do not want to be involved in any of the castes. In this tale, Merlopax left Meso-Abernen and stole the door to the other side and brought it back to Meso-Abernen, only to lose it to Merlopax the conman, Apollopinsmar. The door is a gift from Father. There is nothing anyone can do to find the gift of the door. Father himself must show it to you, and then you must decide if you are going to go through the door. In Agora Davida. One finds the door during the heat of battle, dying a victorious death. So these are the Vikings. This is the favorite door mythology among the Dazites. Giant Roped. The doorway is all that is real, and all of Abernen is but a dream. I'm sure that's something. That's the Aiel, right? Waking up from the dream. Tingly Spald. The doorway was built by a giant turtle. Oh, that's the guys from the King and I. The world is carried on the back of a giant turtle. Royale. Only 3,667 Abers are allowed through the door. Those are the Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, that's all of them. And we finally found the end of the Hall of Records. Oh my Clayman. No, he's Clayman. Oh my Quater. And I think that's one of the Willy videos. So there's a window here. Do I go through the window? Looks like I'm just peering through the window. Ooh, spiky and clayey. Alright. Sweet. We found the very end of the Hall of Records. Who knows what that is, though? I'm sure we'll find out later in the game. So, now I gotta hoof it all the way back to the beginning of the Hall of Records. We'll get back to the actual game in another episode real soon. Until then, keep playing games because games rock. Is there like a... Can I keep going? Okay, good, yes. The Neverhood Chronicles Preamble. Okay. But first, let's pick up this thing on the ground. Those spikes look dangerous.